Welcome into the CBS Sports Network. You're watching the only show to cover the game of basketball all the way from the high school recruiting trail up through college basketball and into the NBA draft ranks. Today's show is going to be all about summer basketball recruiting. And that man on my side there was the story this summer, the summer of Daughtry, it has been deemed. Cayden Daughtry was the first ever MVP of the EYBL regular season. He was the EYBL's leading scorer. He finished in the top 2 or 3 in the EYBL in assists. He won the EYBL championship, leading his Florida Rebels to that title. And in between, he won a gold medal with USA Basketball's U7 team at the FIBA World Cup. So Cayden has now been home for 48 hours, the first time in, I believe, 6 weeks. And he is gracious enough to join us right here live on CBS Sports Network. So Cayden, thank you so much for making some time for us here.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, so Cayden, I said this, I've been doing this for 20 years. I have seen the best of the best at Peach Jam. I've watched Boozer versus DeBonsa. I've seen Cooper Flagg go nuts. I've seen Ben Simmons versus Isaiah Briscoe, some of the very best. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like the run you just put together. I mean, your numbers were absolutely off the charts. You won every single award there was to win, and it was all on the heels of USA Basketball. I want to read these stats, and I think these are accurate. You averaged 32 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals through the Peach Jam alone, while shooting 59% from the floor, 49% from 3, and 92% from the free throw line. You are also 6 feet tall. Is that fair? So
I'll say 6'1". Let's say 6'1".
All right. Okay. All right. This is literally unprecedented. So I just couldn't be more excited to have you here. Let's start last week at the Peach Jam. What was that like as a culminating week for you?
It was just crazy coming off of a gold medal and going straight to Vegas. It kind of just was like a blur until, when I finally won Peach Jam and I laid on the floor. It just kind of was like all that stuff like really happened like a 6-week span. So it just kind of hit me right there. But like that whole week in general is just highest level of hoops I've played. Everybody wanted to beat us because we were the best team. We were the best team in YBL. Renz came out and shocked us. That was a really good game. We had a lot of really good games. We had one of the best runs I feel like in YBL history, and it was just crazy to think about. After winning, being 7-1, and just after telling my team we got 8 more games before our first game, and then just to finally do it and just win it, just crazy.
You mentioned the 6 weeks, so I assume you got home Sunday night. Before Sunday night, when was the last time you slept in your own bed? And take us through the schedule of that last time at home and where you went between coming back on Sunday night.
So I need help on this one. When was NBPA camp?
That was mid-June. I'll get you the exact date here. So NBPA camp was, let's see here. That was mid-June. We'll get you an exact date, but I know you went from there to Colorado, right? You went from NBA camp in Rock Hill, South Carolina to Colorado Springs, Colorado for the USA Basketball trials, because then you had to try out for the team. You went from there to Turkey. You went from Turkey to Las Vegas for the EYBL Session 4, and then you went from Las Vegas to Augusta, Georgia, North Augusta, South Carolina for the Peach Jam. And not once in between those did you go home. Is that right? Yeah, it's crazy. So, like, did you find time? I know you're playing a lot of basketball in that window, but did you find any time to work on your game, get a lift in, or was it just straight competition for that 6 weeks?
It was just straight competition. I worked on my body a lot like, just doing the little things to, make sure that, my knees are straight, my arms were straight, and everything was good. But when it came to like doing anything basketball wise, like there was nothing really like I could do like by myself. I mean, USA did a good job at, letting us get shots up when we had to, and, in our team practices. MBPA was a good camp. Everybody got better at that camp. And then Las Vegas was the first time where I think I had like 30 minutes, 45 minutes to myself where, I was doing what I wanted to work on, or, stuff like that. So, it was just straight off all the work that I put in prior to me leaving. And it's just crazy to think about, because, I love working out. I love getting better. And 6 weeks, I didn't really like work on myself or get better, and I still did what I did. And then, I didn't sharpen anything. I pretty much sharpened everything during the games and during USA and during the tryouts. And, I wasn't really shooting it well in Vegas. I think I averaged like 17% from three, coming straight from Turkey. And, I had to sharpen that part of my game during Peach. And, the fact that I did it, it just really means a lot to me, and just showing how versatile and how resilient I am.
And you know what else too? This is, no matter what happens from here on out, I don't mean this hyperbolically. You're literally going to be a Peach Jam legend forever. Like, we're going to be there 20 years from now, and somebody's going to talk about, the best Peach Jam performances, regardless of what happens in the future. And they're going to be like, do you remember when Cayden Daughtry did that? You remember? And so it's a huge testament. You talked a little bit about working on the things you want to work on. And I did want to ask you about that, because it seems like every time I've seen you over the course of the last few months, you've had a huge game, and I end up interviewing you in one platform or another. And one of the things that we've talked about is just the level of nuance in your skill set. I had to write an updated Cayden Daughtry scouting report yesterday coming off the Peach Jam. And truthfully, I found it difficult because I found it difficult to write it literally in a way in which it didn't sound hyperbolic. You know what I mean? It's almost like I'm exaggerating too much to talk about, because it's an oversimplification to say, oh, he's a great shooter, he's a great ball handler, he's a great passer. I found myself citing the pickup points on your pull up, the stride length in the lane, your ability to draw fouls, the cadences of your dribble, like those little micro nuances of your game. So what that leads me to ask you is, how did you develop all of that? Like, what goes into being as skilled as you are at your age?
I think it was just starting earlier than a lot of other people. I've been working out since I was 3 years old. I've been playing basketball since I was like one, on a little Tykes hoop. Always just shooting around, always just had a ball in my hand. And then at three, I think I was playing in I-9. And, I was just too good for the 3-year-olds and the 4-year-olds. So they just put me up, and I played with 5, 6, and 7-year-olds. And, I just always played up. And then I met my first ever trainer, Coach Zebo, which works at the Orlando Magic now. He used to work out, and he just worked out I-9 that one. It's just God just graced me with. He was just there that one day, and he told me to do a crossover in front of everybody, and he just saw there's something different in my game. And ever since then, he just asked my mom's like, yo, can I work out? Can I work him out? Can I work out with him like one-on-one? And ever since then, I've just always had that relationship with him. And he's been teaching me all the pro stuff that I've been doing now. When I was like in elementary school, like middle school, he always wanted me to be ahead of the curve. He always wanted me to, because I've always been the smallest, but at the same time, I've always been doing pro stuff. I've always been doing stuff that, you're gonna see in the league. Like, and he wants my game to translate as well. which is why he made sure that all that just little things here and there that you'll see in my game, like the pickup points that, I didn't think was really big at the time in Peach Jam. But then, as I come on here and you tell me how good my pickup points are and stuff like that, it's just crazy because I've been doing that since like sixth grade. Like, I've been working on pickup points. I've been working on, getting my shot off quicker in the lane. I've been working on, my stride length. I worked on my stride length in, like, I think ninth grade, because obviously getting in the lane is easy for me, but when you get in there, how are you going to work off the big? How is the big going to guard you? And the stride length is a huge part of that. And there's that somebody named Coach Serge at Next Level in Hollywood. He taught me that, and Coach Jay just taught me how to use my stride length and how to make sure to just throw everybody off. It's all basketball is, just throwing people off to get by your defender. That's literally all it is. So, I've just been always working out. I've just been always ahead of the curve. And then the older I got, the more I just kept learning about the game, because I love basketball so much that, I just always want to keep learning. I always want to get better. Obviously I did really good at Peach Jam, but there's always levels to this. So, just got to keep getting better. Just got to keep working out, and, the future will hold whatever happens.
So, Cayden, I'm going to end with one more question, and I'm going to preface that by a couple of observations. Number one, you are my favorite player in high school basketball to talk basketball with. Your ability to understand and communicate the game is as advanced as your ability to play the game. That's number one. Number two, for all the talk around your size, I think there's so many parts of your physical tools that people don't appreciate. Number one, your speed is obvious. Number two, your ability to change direction without slowing down is unmatched. Number three, you got some bounce, my man. You didn't, I don't know that you had it a couple of years ago, but you got some bounce. And number four, your body control is terrific, as is your durability and endurance. For you to play as long as you did and to be able to play through some of the bumps you did was really spectacular. And I hope people take note of those things. The last things I want to talk about, and I want to get your perspective on this. You had, for someone who puts the numbers on the board you do, and who is trying those advanced things, you have not only an efficiency in your game, but it's clear that your teammates love to play with you. And 30 seconds after you won that Peach Jam championship, something happened that I had never seen before. Your team was not celebrating their collective championship. Your team, not the fans, your team started to chant MVP, MVP around you. 30 seconds after your team had won the championship, they were putting all of that shine back on you. So my question is, in that moment when you're laying on the floor and your teammates are chanting MVP, MVP, what was that like?
Shout out to them, man. It's just playing with them this summer was just phenomenal. Like every practice we had, every game we had, we were just always so connected. And like obviously you think going to Peach Jam and being with each other from Vegas to Peach will, give you some problems at times. Some people are gonna argue. I think we had like one or two arguments, and it was like stupid arguments. It was like about high school basketball. So, it was just how we were just so connected, and it was like everything we did together. We always practiced together. We always talked about winning Peach Jam. We always talked about what is in the future for us, and we just always kept that in mind. And when we got there, I think they just knew how bad I wanted it. I think they knew like how much it took for me to get from those 6 weeks, how much it took to, play, to get there and play how well I did with them and to win MVP and to do all that stuff. I feel like they just realized how much I put on the line for my teammates, and they just celebrated. And at the same time, you'll see me celebrate O'Neal. You'll see me celebrate Nigel. Every time they make a layup, every time they do something well, I'm celebrating them too. I'm screaming. I'm doing like that. That's just how we are. Like we always celebrate each other's successes, but at the same time, when that happened, I was like, I don't know about that. Like we won. We did what we were supposed to do, and they were chanting MVP. So it obviously just it made me emotional after just knowing that I had a team that obviously cares about team success, but at the same time, we all know that we all want to go somewhere, and everybody celebrates each other's success as well, personal success.
Cayden, I'll tell you what, you are as impressive talking about the game and your experiences as you are watching it. Truly historic stuff. Can't congratulate you enough. It was a privilege to be able to be there and on the call, and we thank you for joining us here today. All right, everybody, don't go anywhere. He's Cayden Daughtry. We're talking more high school hoops. That's coming up next right here on the CBS Sports Network. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Network, where I'm being joined by my colleagues Travis Branham and Eric Bossi. And now we are going to announce, I should say, our updated top 10 in the class of 2027. Now, normally, after the summer, we take time to go through all the video, all the stats, because with as many circuits as there are and with as many courts they're playing on in each circuit, it's impossible to see everything, even if you're out in full force every day like we have been. But this year, we thought it was necessary to make some changes to that top 10 right away. So we're going to start at the number 10 spot. Making his debut in the top 10, Trav, I will hand this one over to you. Navarro Bowman is now a top 10 prospect in the national class of 2027. What can you tell us?
Yeah, saw him for the first time last summer and watching throughout this spring and summer. What has immediately stood out is just his physical growth. His dad, former NFL player, and he is really coming into his own physically himself. Staying now about 6'3", he's got a big, strong frame. He is an elite athlete. He's explosive. He's got speed, burst. He changes speed and direction extremely well. Just a dynamic downhill guard who's continued to progress and evolve as a shot maker from three. Now he is still a bit streaky, but as you saw at Peach Jam, he can get hot and put points on the board quickly. He's also evolved as a playmaker and decision maker. Now that's another area he can continue to grow in, but this kid is a dynamic two-way guard that can impact college basketball right away next season.
Navarro Bowman was a starter on that U17 team that won the World Cup in Turkey. He put on a shot-making show at the Peach Jam. He's also a year younger than some of the guards in contention for this spot with, I think, really rapidly ascending physical tools. At number 9, we've got Jordan Page. Jordan Page is one of the most reliable two-way wings in the country. A strong-bodied lefty who's athletic. He can defend. He's willing to share the basketball. He can make open shots, and he can get downhill in straight lines. This guy, who is going to be spending his senior year at IMG Academy in Florida, is as versatile as he is mature with his approach. He is now the number 9 ranked prospect in the national class of 2027. For the number 8 ranked player in the national class of 2027, Ebos, I'm going to go to you with this one. Reese Alston is now the number 8 ranked prospect in the national class, the rising senior class. What can you tell us?
Obviously, everyone knows with Reese Alston, we're talking about the son of an NBA player, Rafer Alston, aka Skip to My Lou. But what stands out, so you think, oh, he's going to be like a flashy player, and he's certainly got some of that in the game. But what stands out to me is Reese Alston's overall feel for the game and his command of his team and everything around him when the ball is in his hands. He's got good size as a point guard, 6'3" He can get in the lane. One thing that I think we maybe underestimated a little bit during the spring, now we saw more during the summer, is he's got a bit more burst with that first step than we realized. And I think that ability to create separation off the dribble, he's starting to maximize that. And with his ability to also knock down pull-up jump shots and just his overall command has allowed him to kind of move up in what is a very, very competitive group of point guards right now.
All right, very good. Now to number 7. The number 7 ranked prospect in the national class of 2027 is Nasir Rudy Alston out of Prolific Prep and playing on the 3 SSB circuit. Travis, what can you tell us about Rudy Anderson?
I was going to correct you, but you beat me to
Yeah,
it.
my bad.
This kid is as good of an athlete as there is in this class, especially when it comes to the guard position. He's an absolute bulldog. You can't keep this guy out of the lane. He is relentless in his attack. I watched him at Adidas before he went out with an injury, and there was no one who could stop him off the dribble. He is left-handed. He is left-hand dominant. He is a below-average shooter, but when that kid wants to get downhill, there's just no stopping him. And he's continued to evolve as a passer and playmaker with improving vision and the decision-making ability. This guy also brings an extremely competitive approach, plays with a ton of energy, and is a bulldog on the defensive end of the floor as well.
All right, and at number 6, we have Louis Uwo. This is someone that we have talked at length about. I think he's the best defensive prospect in the country. He combines superior size, length, athleticism, mobility, and agility. He blocks shots with a joy and passion that Bossi has cited in the past. And I think defensively as a whole, not just as a shot blocker, he has by far the highest ceiling in the class. The way he can flip his hips at his size, the way he can bounce off the floor with multiple jumps, the way he can recover and cover the court is truly in a different category from anyone else in this class. Offensively, it's a work in progress, but he has good hands. He has good touch to be developed. So the defense way ahead of the offense right now, but I do think there is reason for optimism with that offensive game. That, ladies and gentlemen, is 10 through 6 in the updated national rankings in the class of 2027. Who will finish in the top 5? We'll have that next, right here on the CBS Sports Network. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Network, where we are counting down the top 10 prospects in the newly updated National 2027 rankings. We've got Navarro Bowman Jr. in at number 10. We've got Jordan Page at number 9. We've got Reese Alston at number 8. We've got Nasir Rudy Anderson at number 7. Louis Uwo at number 6. And now it is time for the top 5. Cracking the top 5 is the 5th ranked prospect in the national class of 2027 is Adan Diggs from Vegas Elite. Bossi, what can you tell us about this dynamic guard?
Sure. Adan Diggs is a guy who reclassified up from 2028 earlier this summer and didn't have any slippage at all going from the class of 2028 to 2027. He's a big guard at 6'4", pushing 6'5". You can play him at the 1. You can play him at the 2. He's got tons of versatility. I think that's what we all like about him the most. He is a gifted shot maker, particularly off of the dribble, and he can use that size and length to get to his spots and then create some separation and play through some contact. Also, he's starting to show some budding skills as a playmaker. I know you really like his ability as a playmaker, Adam, and I think he showed more of that during Peach Jam. So he's just a good all-around guard with great size. You can play all around the backcourt. You know, there's really not much to pick apart with him, and there's a lot to like.
Yeah, I'm high on Diggs, and I think he could be a riser. Or let me say this: I'm going to be watching closely to see if he can rise as the season goes on, because he scores it from different levels. He can fly at the glass. He can defend. He can pass. I think we just want to see that production continue to tick up, but I am high on his upside. Number 4 in the updated 2027 national rankings is Diggs' Vegas Elite teammate, Demarcus Henry. And Trav, you wrote about Henry just about a week ago and how he is intent to challenge at the very top of the class. What can you tell us about this big lefty wing?
Yeah, he was entering that conversation, and in my opinion, he was on track to be in this top 3, but that was before Cayden Daughtry just absolutely torched Peach Jam. But Demarcus Henry is a guy, 6'8", who's continued to rise our rankings at 24/7 Sports. And what I've been so excited about with him is his evolution and his approach to the game. You go back 2 years ago, he was a bit passive, quiet, and timid out on the court. Didn't really know how good he truly was. But now defensively, this kid is playing with a lot of confidence, a lot of aggressiveness. He's defending all over the court. He's dominating on the glass, averaging nearly 10 rebounds a game as a wing. And then he's got some ability to put the ball on the deck, slash and get to the rim. And he's capable of making shots off the catch and pull. He is streaky at best right now, but that's an area I think he can continue to grow and evolve in, especially as he takes his shots better.
All right, now to the top 3. And I think everybody knows the 3 names that are left. As a reminder, our rankings are based on a futures market where we are projecting number 1, their highest long-term upside, number 2, their projected college impact, and a distant third, who is the best high school player. With that having been said, the number 3 ranked player in the national class of 2027 is Cayden Daughtry. And guys, I want to emphasize this. Cayden Daughtry was the best player in the summer this year. Pound for pound, he is, I believe, the best high school basketball player in the country. He's the most skilled high school player in the country. The other thing I will add, and I told him this off air, this is completely unprecedented in the history of the 24/7 Sports database. He becomes, at 6 feet tall, the only player who is 6 feet tall or smaller to be ranked inside the national top 3 of a senior class. So he is setting history yet again, following his Peach Jam championship, his EYBL MVP, leading the EYBL in scoring, and his gold medal with USA Basketball. Cayden Daughtry is now a top 3 prospect and the number 1 high school player in the national class of 2027. The number 2 prospect in the 24/7 Sports national rankings is CJ Rosser. And Bossi, we have long talked about this guy being arguably the most talented prospect in the country. We saw those pieces start to come together at USA Basketball and to start session 4 of the EYBL in Las Vegas. But why is he as high as he is in these rankings?
There just isn't anybody else with the same blend of size for the position moving forward, fluid athleticism, and potential game. I know it only gives it to us in spurts right now, but what he can potentially do is, at 6'10", as a guy who can stretch defenses with the jump shot, he's being more aggressive and attacking off the dribble and seeking and creating mismatches. And the other thing that we've seen is we've really seen him start playing to his athleticism more. With USA Basketball, and then early in that session in Vegas, we're seeing him catch more lobs. We're seeing him get out in transition and finish above the rim more, and just an overall more aggressive nature. I also think, along with becoming a more consistent shot maker down the road, that guy's got some ability to become a very toolsy and versatile defender with his length and ability to move his feet. So while he's not quite there yet, I think we're seeing signs of him moving in the right direction. Really would have loved to see him play that final session out in Augusta, even though Team United did not make the Peach Jam. But on the other hand, I can also understand these kids are playing an awful lot of basketball right now. And without an ability to compete for a championship, a kid who had been away from his home for over a month, I'm not going to be too critical for him to deciding that rest was in his best interest.
And the bottom line is Rosser, I think, has, as you said, an unmatched combination of tools. And so whether or not he can seize that top spot, that was the question going into this month. I don't think we can say he did it. When you don't make the Peach Jam, you're not going to win the number 1 ranking. But he remains on the hunt. Now, ironically, the player who finishes as the number 1 ranked prospect in the class of 2027 is Rosser's high school teammate, Beckham Black. And Trav, this is a player you have advocated for months. And so, my friend, the stage is yours to explain why he now sits atop the 24/7 Sports 2027 rankings.
Yeah, to Bossi's point, CJ Rosser may have the highest long-term potential, but when it comes to the highest floor in this class and projectability, it's Beckham Black. The way he impacts the game on both ends of the court right now is unmatched. He's a guy with positional size, standing about 6'3", and he may not be done growing yet. We saw what Anthony Black, his older brother, grew to before it was all said and done when he graduated high school. But Beckham Black has a competitive edge about him. I think that's a major separator for him. The approach he plays with on both ends of the court, he wants to kill everybody that is out in front of him. And one thing that I've been so excited about with him is his growth and evolution as a shooter from 3. He's been shooting the ball very well from 3, both off the catch and pull, and he's been getting his shot off extremely quick. I was really impressed out in Las Vegas watching him against Navarro Bowman. And his catch and shoot release and the timing of that release is so quick right now. And he's shooting the ball with such confidence, along with being such an elite floor general, just making people around him better. Always seems to make the right play with the ball in his hands. He's really good in ball screens, has a great feel and understanding of the game. So his projectability, he's going to be an immediate impact freshman. Wherever he goes, he's going to have his selection of whatever school he wants to go to. And he's going to have a successful long-term NBA career at this, just based on the current projection.
Well, folks, there you have it. The updated top 10 in the rising senior class of 2027. Now, this is an important note. The entirety of the 150 has not been updated. We just updated the top 10. Before we do those entire rankings, we're going to spend the better part of the next few weeks, the next month, going through all the film, going through all the stats, doing the deep dive that makes us the most credible authority in this space. And then towards the end of the summer, we will have the full release. These updated 10 will expand back to 150, and we will have the entirety of that list before the summer comes to an end. But we've got more to talk about here on CBS Sports Network. We're going to go back through the major 4 circuits. We've talked a lot about Cayden Daughtry and the EYBL. What happened in 3SSB and UAA and the Puma Pro 16? That's coming up next, right here on the CBS Sports Network. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Network, where we just counted down the top 10 prospects in the rising senior class of 2027. We started this show with an interview with Cayden Daughtry, who was the player of the summer, winning EYBL regular season MVP, leading the EYBL in scoring, and ultimately leading the Florida Rebels to a Peach Jam and EYBL championship. In this segment, we are going to talk about the champions, not just from the EYBL, but from every major sneaker circuit. And guys, I want to start with that Florida Rebels team. O'Neal Delancey, Carson Crawford, MJ Curry, Nawan Harris. We saw Cayden talk about each of them and how they were important. I will give my perspective, having watched them. O'Neal Delancey provided such a key secondary scorer. I think his ability to make tough shots, to have some on-off ball versatility, allow Cayden to get some rest, and then just the competitive fire with which he plays with, which was a match for Cayden, made them the most dynamic backcourt. Nawan Harris stepped up in a big way. MJ Curry provided a defender and slasher. I think Carson Crawford was absolutely imperative for this team because his athleticism on the wing, he was able to guard multiple positions. He was able to fly at the glass and allowed them to play with that small lineup that got up and down with such pace. Bossi, I see you nodding your head yes. So I'll go to you. What were your impressions of this supporting cast for Cayden Daughtry?
Yeah, well, you kind of stole my thunder on Crawford there because I thought I was not out on the road last week. I actually watched a bunch of online stuff from home, but a lot of Peach Jam. And even in games where he wasn't putting up huge number, Crawford's just kept getting my attention for all the little things that he was doing, whether it was being in the right position to help defensively, whether it was, making an extra pass in transition to get an open shot. I just thought he did so much for the team that wasn't measured in the box score that he really took a lot of pressure off the other guys from doing those things to allow them a little bit more freedom to score and do those things. And, you mentioned Harris. Well, I thought despite only being about 6'4" or so, really provided a big presence for them around the rim because of his strength. That's a big, strong kid who seemed to be on the offensive glass a lot and seemed to constantly be finishing around the rim and kind of playing some small ball, big, power forward for them in a sense. Just a great all-around effort. But like I said, the effort that Crawford did really stuck out to me, just for things that don't show up in a box score.
All right. Now, in the Adidas 3SSB circuit, the finals came down to 2 Northeast-based teams, with New Heights defeating the mass rivals in the final. Guys, this is a 2027 class that is limited in terms of high major big man prospects. And Kamzi Awaka, who is the younger brother of Arizona's Toby Awaka, has asserted his name among the very best of those big men. He's a couple inches bigger than Tobe, but he's got that same power body, that same ability to impact things on both ends of the floor. And then Kamari White, who is a downhill specialist. He's going to be transferring into Blair Academy and playing alongside Awaka next year. This guy hunts the rim like no one else. And I can tell you, my big takeaway from being at Adidas was that I was very glad we were ahead of the curve and had Kamari White in the national top 100. Trav, just want to get your perspective on this New Heights team and anything you might have seen during your time evaluating the Adidas 3SSB circuit.
Yeah, I mean, the shock of the 3SSB circuit was the Compton Magic not coming away and Antonio Pemberton leading that charge and defeating them. They went through, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, they went through the whole regular season undefeated going into this tournament. They were as talented as any team really in the country, with Jan Kamagate, Darius Swabbington, and Javon Bardwell, and on down the list. But Kamzi Awaka, to what you're saying, what he's proven this season with New Heights, he's one of the biggest stock risers in this national class of 2027. And he's going to be without the connection to Arizona, he would be in as high of demand as anyone in the country, just about, with the lack of bigs in the marketplace and just what he brings to the table with his rebounding, his size. But congratulations to the New Heights team. The 3SSB circuit was fun to watch. It was competitive, a lot of talent out there.
And you mentioned Antonio Pemberton. He led the Mass Rivals team that knocked off Compton Magic Friday morning in a nationally televised game, marched all the way to the finals. That guy was the biggest individual stock riser from the 3SSB circuit. As Cayden Daughtry was for EYBL, so too was Antonio Pemberton for 3SSB. We've seen his recruitment go to the very highest levels with places like Kansas, Michigan, UCLA, Michigan State, and others. Of course, there's other schools like Marquette and Boston College and Utah that have been on him since the very beginning and continue to prioritize him. So it's going to be interesting to watch what happens to him. But that guy is an absolute warrior. Speaking of warriors, in the Under Armour Association, We Are One struck probably the biggest Cinderella story of the month of July, beating Team Thrill. Now, Team Thrill is always one of the powerhouses of the UAA. They're led by Daryl Davis, who was featured in my summer scouting series notes on the Under Armour Association, because I think he is a terrific point guard. He's dynamic, he's reliable, and he could very well be a riser in this national class. But on Championship Saturday, it was We Are One who came out of nowhere to strike that championship wing. And Bossi, I know you have been diving deep into the film on a stock riser from We Are One. What can you tell us?
I really like this kid, Alex Pace, who kind of led the way for them. You know, he doubled up anyone else on that squad in scoring. He's a 6'2" guy who's going to be a reclass guy to do a prep year here this year. Had a big year at Camden High, a 51-point game during his senior season. And he just went out and got buckets. He's not always the most efficient guy, but like when they need a guy to do something, he goes out and does it. They were down 15 points in the quarterfinals to a KC Run GMC team that had previously only lost one game during the entire UAA circuit. And he pretty much single-handedly led them back, making tough shot after tough shot. And, you know, just raised his profile throughout the entire tournament. So it's going to be one that's going to be interesting to see how things play out for him. You know, we've seen a lot of these guys have huge summers, but they're not quite registering into offers yet. I know he picked up a Yale offer to go to some offers that he's got from Boston and Tennessee Tech and some places like that. But the guy really put on, and like you said, led probably the biggest Cinderella run of the summer. Well, other than Drive Nation also making the finals at Peach Jam, that was definitely a Cinderella run. But We Are One getting it done, certainly not one that I think many people had picked to win that Under Armour circuit.
All right, guys, I think the final point here, there used to be 3 national sneaker circuits, and we've said this in years past, but it is completely undeniable at this point. There are now 4 sneaker circuits that college coaches at the very highest levels have to account for and have to evaluate. And the Puma Pro 16 circuit is every bit on that same level and somewhere that college coaches have to attend. Treyman Elite was the program to know in that circuit. Now, they've got Alston there, they've got Batiste, so they've got potential McDonald's All-Americans already in place. But Treyman Elite, I thought, had the best depth of high major talent. They went on to win that championship. You look at some of the names here. Aaron Britt was, I think, the unofficial MVP of the Puma circuit, listening to some of their coverage from the event. Jomar Bernard was a big stock riser, landed an offer from Wake Forest. Henry Robinson as well. And then Nicole Nyack is a valuable big man. Trav, I want to ask you about Aaron Britt, because this is a prospect that you have been advocating for quite some time. He was critical down the stretch of this championship run for Treyman Elite. What can you tell us about this floor general from the state of Florida?
Yeah, I've been ringing the Aaron Britt bells for quite some time, and I don't know if it didn't get quite through to some of the ears on this show as timely as I wanted to, but here we go. This kid is a winner. He is dynamic with the ball. He may be undersized, but this is the class of the small guard, and he makes up for it with his strength, his competitiveness, his overall feel and IQ for the game. This kid controls the pace of the game. He's got the ball on his string, changes speed and direction as well as anybody in the class. And he's really good in ball screens. He just lets the game come to him in ball screens. When he gets downhill, he waits to see what the defense is going to do before deciding whether he's going to go and take a bucket or if he's going to make a play for somebody else. He's got great vision. He brings it on both ends of the court. And like I said, this kid impacts winning, and now high major programs are starting to take notice, and his recruitment is now starting to elevate.
Guys, the thing I am most proud of coming out of this summer is we had boots on the ground at not only these four, but every circuit. I personally attended multiple days at all of those circuits, EYBL, 3SSB, UAA, and Pro 16. But Bossi, you have set the standard in terms of leaving no stone left unturned in covering everything beyond even these four circuits. Before we go to break, I just want you to take a minute to talk about the places in addition to these four circuits you have been, because it's a reflection of where college coaches need to go and the vast landscape they need to cover in order to see all the potential high major talent in the country.
Yeah, I also made the independent recruit look circuit during the spring and summer. I made Hoops, another growing independent circuit, and I made the New Balance circuit, who's striving to become another player in the shoe game. And what's interesting is we're lucky at 24/7. We have probably the biggest staff on grassroots. We're able to get out to the most things. But as time goes on, the kids are getting more and more spread out than ever. So doing our job, despite having film and all those things, has become actually harder than ever because kids are spread out. They're in more places, and we're not seeing them come together and play against each other as often as we used to in the past. So I've always felt it's important that if we feel that there may be a player somewhere or players, we need to get out there and see them. Now, in an ideal world, we'd get to see these guys against each other a little bit more often so that we could better gauge them versus other circuits instead of just against the players they play against all the time. But there is a lot of other talent out there. These independent leagues have guys. Both Made Hoops and Recruit Look, when I was at them during live periods, were, filled with college coaches. So, the greater message too is to the kids out there playing, find the team where you're going to play and where you're going to know that you're going to have the right coaches for your level watching you, because there's so many different avenues for exposure out there. You don't have to do this circuit or that circuit. And if you play on a team that wins and if you play on a place that does a good job of promoting things, you are going to get eyeballs on you, whether that be from college coaches or scouts or media or whatever it is that you're looking for.
All right, well said, my friend. As I mentioned, we had boots on the ground at all those places. You've got the top 10 for our updated 2027 rankings. The full 150 will be out later this month, but don't go anywhere. I've got one final shot coming up right here on the CBS Sports Network. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Network, where we have been putting a bow on this summer's recruiting period. High major coaches and us evaluators have been on the road for the better part of the last 2 weeks. And prior to that, it was really the majority of the month of June and July. Now we rest theoretically, but actually what we do is dive into the film and the stats to provide that all-encompassing 2027 rankings we have promised. It's why we are the best in the business, because we leave no stone left unturned. Now, if you are looking for additional coverage of this summer live period and some of the various storylines, you can head on over to 247sports.com. You can check out The Assist with Kyle Tucker, the 24/7 Sports podcast. I was on Kyle's show yesterday. Or you can head on over to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube page. I joined Matt Norlander for the Eye on College Basketball podcast yesterday. We talked about some of these same players. We went into depth on their scouting report. We also talked about the state of summer recruiting, how there is going to be flexibility between graduating classes, the reclassification wave. We've already seen a number of players go from 27 to 26. Just in recent days alone, those were not unexpected. In the months to come, I expect we will see a significant amount of players go from 28 to 27, and these new rankings will only continue to expand. It's all right there on the YouTube page. Visit us over there at the CBS Sports College Basketball page. Until next time, thanks for watching, everybody.